So when we're pressing on and we're like, oh, I can't, I'm holding on to it. My body is not, my mind does not want to remember that I am called and chosen. My mind is holding me back. I'm having anxious thoughts. I'm a bit worried. My body is giving up. I'm just tired. I can't get out of bed in the morning. When that alarm goes off, oh man. But when we just remember, we've just got to try to just, what do we do? We just hold ourselves to that. Just love God, love people. All right, if I can do that, I'm just going to walk humbly. I'm going to love mercy. Oh, isn't it amazing? I can give that a go. So then when I stumble, I'm not going to just sit back down in the hole. I'm not going to just stay there. I'm not going to set up a tent and camp. I'm going to go, it's okay. God knew I made mistakes. He knows I wasn't perfect, so let's do something about it. Let's reconcile myself back to what He has planned so that I can keep pressing forward, because He knew. He knew. We could choose to live in that shame that God has taken away, or we could choose to believe that God is who He said He is. He did what He said He was going to do, and we can keep moving our story forward. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We have been, you guys can, thank you so much. I forget to dismiss you every time, but thank you. I appreciate it. Let's give him a hand. I just got real distracted because Adam has monkeys on his socks. And now you all know. Feel free to say, hi, Adam, I like your socks. Oh, man. What a good start. Thanks, hon. Where to even go from there? At the table. We have been talking about at the table. If you have been around for any time this year, you would know we've been speaking about at the table, how we start in rows like we are today, but we're not going to get very far unless we move to tables. And how we do that is through circles and then to tables. And I just want to take a brief intermission to do something that we don't usually do, and to have Nath Bobolino come up and share, because when we talk about rows to circles, we talked about lowering him in from the sky. It didn't happen. When we talk about rows to circles, we talk about circles is finding people, finding like-minded people, finding a community of people. And last week, Nath served in kids' church because he's a superhero, and because our kids are doing some awesome things. And I just wanted him to spend like 30 seconds to a minute to just talk about that experience.
Hello, everyone. This is, wow. I'm not nervous, I'm excited. I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Exactly. No, it was really good. It gave me an insight on what the church actually does in the backgrounds to make all this happen. And there's so many people here. This is amazing, actually. This is really good. Sorry, I've just gone off track here. It's good to see all the seats filled. And yeah, see what the community in our church do for the young kids. And I think we had 40 kids. Yeah. So, and I butted heads with one that was exactly like me as a young kid. So, it was really good. It was interesting to see, and to see what they do. And we went and played, balls and all that in the court. And I didn't know we had an indoor court, which was really good. So now I might be in there a little bit more now, but. No, the kids are fantastic, and we do show them the Bible when we do a little bit of the Word, and you told them the story about Jesus and the fish, and I was so excited, but I've heard it a million times. So, but yeah, I was like a little kid, and that's why I probably enjoyed it, because I could run around and be me, I guess. So, I'll do it again. Thank you.
It was so good, because the cool thing was, that was great. Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you so much. It was so good because I got to know Nathan through serving in kids' church in a way. Like, I learned stuff about his story, about how he goes working with kids that I would never have known if we were not in kids' church together. And when he says butted heads, he did not butt heads with the young. He actually, and we spoke about it in our debrief, he had this little kid that he hung out with, I've been trying to connect, and get to know this kid and relate to this kid in a way that just Nath just walked in and did, because they knew. And this is the thing, when we go from rows to circles, you get to know one another in a way that you never would have before. It creates these opportunities, and serving is the best way to do that. which is so good. I just realized I think I forgot to welcome the people online. And so everyone, let's just turn and give a big wave to them. Hello, everybody online. It's great to see you. I'm so sorry. I'll do better next time. Maybe I'll get my Easter bunny to you somehow. All right. So we go from rows to circles to tables. And tables is when you're serving in your teams or when you meet someone in the cafe or you go to yarn together and you're knitting beanies and you catch up with someone that you just click with. And you go, oh, we just kind of gel. And maybe you then catch up with them outside of your circle. You catch up with them, you invite them over for dinner, and hopefully you just get to know them just a little bit more where they become someone that you can trust. They become someone that you can do life with, someone that you can discuss things that you're unsure about, rely on the Bible that can turn you back to where you were meant to be facing. When you're feeling downcast, they can just help lift your eyes back to Jesus. And so that's the idea. We go from rows to circles to tables. Isn't that cool? I think it's cool. I love this series. It's one of my favorites. Building relationships that last. And so in that, we are doing a mini series. Pastor Matt spoke on being reconciled with God last week, which was amazing. If you didn't hear it, listen to it. We have it on our YouTube, which you can access via our website, via our What's Ons and our socials and our central hub, and it's awesome. Find it, watch it. It's awesome. And so if you didn't watch it, let me catch you up so you understand what I'm talking about, because I'm doing part 2. And the crux is that our relationship with God, being reconciled with God, is the foundation for our lives, right? It is being able to get into his presence, to acknowledge his existence, and so that we are able to run to him and not from him. That when we are scared, we can go, instead of being like, oh no, don't tell dad, we can go, oh, I got to tell dad, right? That we can say that God is on our side, that we are reconciled, we are brought together back into unity, restoring unity with God. Because he was always there, he's done it, he's paid the price, he's gone there, we just have to acknowledge it and know it, which is really cool. So watch the message. That's my little... It was seriously good. I was telling her, I think it's one of the best ones you've done. Anyway, besides the point. But before we go any further, let's talk about reconciliation. Because this week we are speaking part 2, being reconciled with yourself. So the idea is if you're reconciled with God, yourself, and then others, it's essentially Ephesians 2. It's really cool. And so let's talk about reconciliation, because it's a big word. In my head, it's a fancy word. And so let's just put some normal words to the big word, right? And so for the purpose of today, I'm doing some Googling, and do you know there's a lot of definitions on reconciliation? Well, there's not. They all mean the same thing, but it's an accounting term. It's a biblical term. And so the crux of it is that it restores unity. It is restoring unity. I took all the dictionaries, all the bits and bobs, put it into 2 words for you, because all the words were messing with my head. Reconciliation is restoring unity, which is really cool. We can be heading in one direction, and then we're meant to be going in the other, and it's all split, but then we bring the opposing forces together. We reconcile them, and when they are back in unity, we are restoring unity going in one direction. Does that make sense? Great. Oh my gosh. The Apostle Paul. Anyone heard of him before? Apostle Paul, he's in the Bible. He's great. He starts off, though, as a guy named Saul. Can everybody say Saul? Great. Saul. I'm channeling my inner kids church. That's what it is today, Saul. And so Saul is really interesting. Saul's story starts in Acts. And so Saul was a Pharisee. He was trained under a Pharisaic rabbi. He had heaps of biblical knowledge. He was out there passionate for God, just kind of in the wrong way, just a little bit. The first mention of Saul actually is when this guy, Stephen, who's on fire for Jesus, is being stoned. And so, to death. I was going to say, anyway, what? He's being stoned to death. And it's actually really cool. Oh, it's not really cool. Has anybody ever read the Bible like you've never read it before? You know, when you're reading a Bible story that you heard in kids' church, you're reading it like you've seen it, you know, and you just go, oh yeah, I know Stephen. He was on fire for God, started the early church. Oh, good, he dies. Cool. The end. But when you sit and you actually read it, and I go, oh yeah, I know Stephen. Jesus stands up next to the stone. That's cool. I wish I was like Stephen. That's awesome. But nobody wants to get stoned to have that experience to death. So I didn't realize you could get stoned not to death. Anyway. Oh. Thank you so much, everybody. Everybody see the light bulb go off? If you don't get it, ask Pastor Matt, because this is his fault. He was murdered. There you go. Brutally murdered. Is that better? I was trying to avoid that, but apparently that's where we're at. Oh, I had to go back to that. Stephen was brutally murdered, and Saul just stood there. There you go. He stood there. In fact, when Stephen started calling out, saying, God, forgive them, what they've done, and they take him away, and the witnesses put the coats on Saul's feet. And then do you know what? His response to that is normal, just like everyone else's. He goes and kills more people and massacres them and separates the early church. That's Saul's first representation in the Bible. That's his first mention. That's his first name to fame, is that. How intense. I didn't know that. So I encourage you, read the Bible like you've never read it before. See, Saul got his, he thought he was going one way. He thought he was doing all this stuff for God. He thought he was glorifying God by killing all these Jesus followers. He thought he was doing the right thing. But what it took for Saul to realize was it took Saul heading to Damascus. Oh my gosh, he was dedicated, man. He even got the right permits to go kill the right people, right? That is Saul. He went up to the high priest. He got the right form. He's heading to Damascus so that he can persecute these Jesus followers. And, oh man, on the way there, he has this moment where he gets knocked over and blinded. And it says, oh, it's so cool. I've got it up here on the screen. It says, he fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he says, who are you, Lord? I find that really interesting because Saul was chasing God, but he was not going the way that God was wanting him to go. He was not going the direction that God had called for his life, but he knew it was God. He knew it was the Lord who knocked him over. And so he goes, who are you, Lord? I am Jesus whom you are persecuting, he replied. Now get up and go to the city where you will be told what you must do. Who are you, Lord? See, he has this moment where he's heading one way, but then his life is about to get reconciled, restored to unity, brought back to the way that God is intending it. But here's the thing. It did not happen just like that. It did not happen just like that. I mean, the start, sure. The start was interesting because he goes, he doesn't eat, he doesn't drink because, you know, when you're suddenly blind, it has an effect on your emotional state. When your life is about like what you thought you knew is now completely changed, it kind of messed with your head a little bit. So he goes to Damascus, and this guy named Ananias, who in my head is the hero of the story, Ananias, who Saul was on his way to kill, gets almost slapped by God saying, you are going to go talk to Saul. You're going to go talk to Saul, Ananias, and you are going to go tell him that it is me. You are going to go invite him into your home. And it's so interesting because, I love it. When Ananias greets Saul, the guy who was coming to persecute them, right? He says, Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus who is appearing to you. He appeared on the road. Brother Saul. Oh, wouldn't it be cool? In other words, Ananias invited Saul to his table. Ananias invited Saul, who was the opposite to his table. But that's reconciling with others. We'll talk about that next week. But I just think that's so cool. Is there anyone in our life that we can just, Brother Saul? Isn't that cool? Brother Saul. And so Saul then gets filled with the Holy Spirit. Ananias prays for him. He gets filled with the Holy Spirit. He starts to get this understanding of what is going on inside of himself, what is happening. He then he has some food. I could have read that he had some food, but if you want to, go on to read all Acts 9. It's all there. He then has a snack, because he hasn't eaten. He has some food, and then he goes on and he gets baptized. And then he goes on because he goes, hey, something has happened inside of me. I have come together to you in unity. I have reconciled with God. I'm going to do something and fix myself, so I'm going to get baptized. So if you want to get baptized, May 24th, right? Because he says, I'm going to get baptized. And then it says, then he spent some time around people who were for him. So here's the thing, if you want to reconcile with yourself, if you want to come back to unity, if you want to go in the way that God has called you, find some like-minded people to tell you and speak over you who God has called you to be. Crazy. He began to preach in the synagogues that he was going there to separate, to destroy, to persecute the Christians. His life was heading one way. Saul thought he was moving towards God, but in reality it wasn't. He had a moment where he realized, just a moment. And I feel like that's that unity with God thing and restoration to God is he just takes a moment to realize, or maybe a few moments to realize. And that's kind of standing up in his life, because then you can move your story forward. And reconciling with yourself is all about taking those next steps. Because it's all good to say, hey, there is a God who loves me. There is a God who created me on purpose, for purpose. I'm not just a cosmic accident, because you're not. You're not. You were created to do great things. You were created by someone who loves you, who planned your future. And it's all good to believe that, but let's reconcile ourselves. Let's bring unity to our body, our mind, our spirit, our soul, to bring it towards that vision, to bring it towards what we have been called. And that is the whole purpose of being reconciled with yourself. I just find it crazy. We need to take some steps to move our story forward. Saul had to align his beliefs with God's. He had to have an awareness of God, and so do we. It's on us to choose and not let ourselves get in the way. Sometimes we are our biggest hurdle. See, we need to let go of what's behind us and start pushing forwards. Philippians 3, it's Paul again. See, Saul to Paul, right? He's had a bit of time now, right? He now goes by Paul. Pretty cool. And so Paul writes Philippians, and it says, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead, I press on. He presses on in the race. He forgets what's in the past and pushes forward. He's not living in the past. He's not wallowing in what I did to those people, how I acted, how I felt. To these people that are now his friends and family, he's not sitting back there wallowing in his past, in his shame. He's standing up. He's going, I'm going to forget that. Stephen, come on. He was there when that happened. And yet if Paul can move on, if Paul can give it to God and say, I'm going to run the race God has given to me, I'm going to keep living life, I'm going to keep moving forward. If Paul can do that, I think there's a chance for us here today. I think there's a chance where we can let go of the past, because you can't run holding a weight. You can't keep moving your story forward if you are holding on to the pains of the past. If you're moving on to what could have been, what should have been. If you're holding on to, geez, that was good back then. You're not going to move forward because you're just holding on. So just live in the moment. Live who God has called you to be, because then we can move our story forward. And see, first we got to know Jesus has taken it all, and then we got to step within ourselves to do the work to let go of the past, to let go of the hurts, to let go of what is holding us back from that reconciliation with ourselves, that restoring unity to the way God has called us to go. Oh, man. It says, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead, I press on. I press on. Because sometimes it takes a bit of pressing. Sometimes it takes a bit of work. So it doesn't. Some days you're just walking. But if sometimes it takes a bit of work, it's step by step, I press on. And so with it sometimes being harder than others, let's start simple. Micah 6 verse 8, it says, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. Oh, to live in my brain. And what does the Lord require of you? So what does God require of us? If we're going to push on, if we're going to press forward, if we are going to leave the past in the past where it belongs and press forward with God, well, what does he actually require of us? Act justly, love mercy, walk humbly. Try to do the right thing. Try to love mercifully. It means when you could be hating someone or you're giving them the forgiveness. Love in a way that Jesus would love. And to just be humble. To just love on God. That's what the Lord requires. That's it. If you want it even simpler, Jesus says it this way. A new commandment I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples. So just love one another. Love me as I have loved you. Love others as I have loved you. Love God and love others. That's even simpler. So when we're pressing on and we're like, oh, I can't, I'm holding on to it. My body is not, my mind does not want to remember that I am called and chosen. My mind is holding me back. I'm having anxious thoughts. I'm a bit worried. My body is giving up. I'm just tired. I can't get out of bed in the morning. When that alarm goes off, oh man. But when we just remember, we've just got to try to just, what do we do? We just hold ourselves to that. Just love God, love people. All right, if I can do that, I'm just going to walk humbly. I'm going to love mercy. Oh, isn't it amazing? That's it. Oh, and even better, you go, but God, does God really know who I am? Ephesians 2:10. It said, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus. You are God's handiwork. You are made well. You're not like a wobbly chair, you're a good chair, made well. You are incredible. He put thought into you. He purposed you. He created you to do good works. And this is the cool bit because it says that first, followed by which God prepared in advance for us to do. So here's the thing. He knew you when he planned your future. He knew the mistakes you'd make when he planned your future. I like to say for myself, and you take it if you will, God factored in my stupidity when he planned my future, right? God knew who I was. So when I'm trying to press on, when I'm trying to press forward to move my steps just a little more forward, to move my story forward, I remember that God made me and that he knew me when he made me. And then if all I've got to do is just love one another as God loved me, then I can give that a go. I can give that a go. So then when I stumble, I'm not going to just sit back down in the hole. I'm not going to just stay there. I'm not going to set up a tent and camp. I'm going to go, it's okay. God knew I made mistakes. He knows I wasn't perfect, so let's do something about it. Let's reconcile myself back to what he has planned so that I can keep pressing forward because he knew. He knew. We could choose to live in that shame that God has taken away, or we could choose to believe that God is who he said he is. He did what he said he was going to do, and we can keep moving our story forward. So how do we do this? How do we get to know God? Well, we read up on his promises so that you know where you're going, what to reconcile yourself to. That's step one. You have to know what to reconcile yourself to, and then you have to know how to reconcile yourself. Right? Because we could say we have to restore unity to ourselves. We have to bring ourselves back to God, but how do you actually do that? Well, it's important because it takes every part of you. 1 Corinthians 9:26. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that my preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. This is Paul again. Paul must like running. Oh my gosh, he talks about races a lot. No, this is Paul again. Paul says he trains his body, he disciplines it. So how do we discipline our body? How do we discipline our mind so that we can bring it back? How do we discipline our soul? Oh man. First, we need to find what needs to be aligned. We need to find the point of pain. You know when you go to the doctors and first they go, where does it hurt? We need to find the bit that isn't quite fitting in. We need to find the bit that's holding us back. Is it that anxious thoughts? Is it that struggling to get out of bed? Is it that self-doubt? Is it events that have happened to you? Is it things that have happened in your life that are just holding you there? Things people have said, people have called you that are just holding you there? We have to figure out what it is, because if it's anxieties, if it's worries, if it's concerns, if it's self-doubt, then we need to control our mind. If it is our emotions, I just don't want to. Oh man, if I didn't do the things I didn't want to do, I'd sit on the couch all day. Sometimes we need to do things we don't want to do. Oh man, it's awesome. Becoming an adult is awesome when you realize that. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. In school, you have to do the tests to pass the exams because otherwise you're going to fail school. So sometimes you have to do the things you don't want to do because you have to, because you've got to move your story forward. So sometimes you have to set the alarm to get out of bed. Sometimes you have to realize these things so that you can move it forward. But if we don't know what the issue is, we don't know where to start, right? So maybe, oh my gosh, if you want to be a marathon runner and God has called you to be a marathon runner, then start hitting the gym. You know, it's a bit like that. It's, I know that if I'm going to get up here today, I'm going to go to bed early the night before. You know, you got to realize, and if I'm here saying I don't want to, then I know that's my mind. So I'm going to reconcile that. I'm going to bring that back because I know where God has called me to be. I know what he has said. I know what he's purposed me for. And that's just loving people as best I can in the way he's shown me. I find it interesting, a way that you can tell what point. Could I have the next slide? Sorry, I can see it on the back, but you can't see it. Find the point that needs to be unified with yourself. Right. Find that point. Find the point that needs to be unified in yourself. I find a good way to do this is, where are the fruits of the Spirit not showing in my life? A fruit of the Spirit is a fruit. Like, you know, you have a tree and you know the tree is healthy because it bears fruit, right? So I have my life and I know if it is healthy, these things will be evident in my life. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. Pretty sure that's all of them. Faithfulness. Oh, it's the one I always forget. Thank you, Matt. I looked at Matt because I knew he'd know. And there's always one. Where are the fruits of the Spirit not being shown in my life? Because I can tell you what, if I don't get enough sleep, I'm not very patient. I can tell you what, if I'm still holding on to what could have been, what should have been, like, life was so good back then. We had something going for us. It was great. But then this happened and it all fell to pieces. Oh, if only we were back then. I'm not going to feel the joy of the Lord. I'm not going to feel the peace he has for me. I'm not going to be able to keep moving my story forward. What areas are the fruits of the Spirit not showing? Where are you struggling to be kind? Where are you struggling? Oh, my goodness. Self-control is just a huge one, isn't it? Where are you struggling to have self-control? At least it is for me. At least it is for me. Why can't I just sit down and get this done? Because I need to align myself back to God, but I know it's a self-control issue, so I know. And then where is that coming from? Is it because I'm just telling myself that I really don't want to? Is it because I have to make my body get up and do what it has to do to get this done? Find the point that needs to be unified with what God has called us to be. We've got to restore it back. Okay, and then number 2, we have to work on that point. We just have to work on it. It's really simple because once you know what it is, it's like the simple, not easy. It's like once you figure it out, you've got it. Awesome. Great. Now you have to do it. So if I realize I really struggle to get out of bed in the morning, okay, I have to reconcile myself. I have to unify back to myself. I have to restore it. So I'm going to set my alarm on the other side of the room because I got to get out of bed to get it. So then I am unifying my mind because I know I have to do it. I know I want to do it. I want to do what God has called me to today. I want to be reconciled with God's plans. I want to do that. So I'm going to set it over there so my body has to. Because sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. Oh my gosh. Sometimes we have to, if I know I have a big kids conference coming up, or I know that this day is going to be big, or I know I'm going to work, and I know that I want to be the best example of Christ to people in my workplace, I've got to be feeling good. I've got to have these fruits of the Spirit showing. So maybe that means I have to eat healthier so that I don't have as much brain fog. I know, maybe that means I've got to drop one of my KFC meals of the week. Whew. It gets bad when they start knowing your name, doesn't it? No one else has ever been there. No one else has ever been there. You have to have hope for the future. Because if you lose your hope for the future, then you're not going to be able to work on that point. You can't keep moving your story forward if you don't have hope for your future. And if you're struggling, this is the Rose Table Circles. Find a community. Find somewhere that you belong so they can help you remember who you are called to be. And then do what you have to do to find it. I hope you can find your community here. If you are struggling, join a team, just any team. Just any team. Find someone, do something, because you need to find a community. So then hopefully you find someone that you can connect with just that bit more who can help you remember who God has called you to be. They can push you and be like, bro, you were meant to be here an hour ago. What happened? And you snooze my alarm. Well, set it on the other side of the room, right? Find a group of people can help when you have your head bowed in shame, that they can lift it towards God. That it's okay. You don't have to park your tent here. You can keep moving your story forward. If you want to stand with me. Find that community and then do what you have to find that community, man. Because isolation is a killer. I mean, they got to a point a while ago where I couldn't find that community in a church. I just couldn't. Growing up, I found that community. I was like 8, 10. I used to go to small groups with my dad because that's how I'd hang out with him. There was seriously 60 to 70-year-olds. I don't know. I was 10, so they were probably younger. That's the theory, right? I wanted to say 80, but I brought it down. But I decided that that's where I was going to find community because that's all I had. I thought, all right, because isolation's a killer. There was a while where there was some issues going on. I thought, all right, I got to find some form of a community, so I was going to join a sport. I am not athletic. Because isolation is a killer. But hopefully you can find that community here and you can get aligned, because if you find a community where God is present, a community where where people can bring you back to God, like-minded people, then it makes step 3 easier, which is just running your race. Just keep going. Press on. I press on. Paul had done a lot of stuff in his life, but he just had to press on. And it doesn't happen instantly. Some scholars say it took 3 years from the moment where Paul is first mentioned to become the Apostle Paul. Sometimes it takes time. In fact, most of the time it takes time. Oh my gosh, I am jealous if you can you just all of a sudden, bam, you're waking up at 5 a.m. like some kind of pro. If your body is getting into it, man. If you have a mind, it takes a while to get your mind. The heart is deceitful above all things. You don't need to listen to your emotions. Sometimes they're wrong. I don't want to. They hurt me. It's sad. That sucks. It genuinely does. Like, it's hard. They did this. The church did that. Someone who was a Christian said this. I know it sucks. really does. But are you going to let that be the thing that keeps you standard? Or are you going to realign yourself to God? Are you going to restore the unity and say, okay, but God called me this. And if I've just got to love God and love people, if I've just got to walk humbly, act justly, love mercy, then I'm going to take that step. I'm going to press on. Paul changed the actual world. The world is different because of Paul. Can you imagine if all of us just did that in our lives? I can guarantee you it would change at least your world. If we had families that instead of, I snapped at my kids. I said this to my wife, to my husband. I said this to a friend. I can't believe I did that. If we can reconcile ourselves and go, no, I'm just going to be like God a bit more today. I may have messed up, but I'm just going to be a bit more like Jesus today. Just a little bit more. Can you imagine if we just forgave ourselves that bit more? And just stepped towards Jesus. Started moving our story forward. Oh man. Our lives would change. If you want to take some steps today, maybe it's just standing up, maybe it's just finding out that you were reconciled with God. Maybe you weren't here last week, maybe it's like, yep, I didn't know God loved me that much. Or maybe it's I want to take those steps forward, but I don't know where to start. I've got all these thoughts running through my mind. I don't even know how to calm them. I just don't know where to start pressing forward. We have the care space over to this side. And Kylie, Patrick are there and they'll help you. They'll pray for you and then maybe they'll connect you with someone who can help you. Oh, isn't that important? You don't take your car to the accountant to get fixed. So maybe you need to go get some counseling done so you can start taking that step forward. Maybe you need to find a pastor and learn more about God or someone who knows and just start taking those steps forward. So we're going to pray together today. We're going to pray. And if this feels relevant to you, then maybe pray it to yourself, pray it in your heart. But God, I pray that you just give us the strength to keep going. The strength, Lord, to find when we need to come back into alignment with you, but alignment with where you want us to go. God, I thank you that you made us so beautifully and wonderfully, that you made us and you have a plan for us and you knew that. God, I thank you, Jesus, that we can be reconciled to you, that we can be reconciled to ourselves, and that you love us so much. Pray you give us eyes to see where we need to come back to you. I pray you give us eyes to see the areas in our lives that we need to bring back into unity so that we can just keep moving forward, God. Thank you so much for who you are and what you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Wasn't that awesome? Press on. Just reminded of a sort of a quote that said, if you're going through hell, don't stop. Like, why would you want to stop while you're in the middle of hell on earth? Keep going till you get to the other side. If that's you, to press on, remember, just come over to my right, your left, and we've got our care space there. It's very, very cool.